So moving on from there, I've got my low poly model back on the screen here, and let me just bring this down a bit. How do we export this ready for Second Life? Well, the process is quite simple. We'll go to File, Export, and we want to choose Collada. Now we've got two different Collada options here. One which says Avastar DAE, the other default. I'm not sure about its Avastar. I've got Avastar installed, so it might come up with Avastar because in your version it might say rigged or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. But there will be a Collada default. These Collada exporters, I think Guy Carey was very involved with writing of them, and I think she's the Blender Collada person. So anyway, because this is a static model, we want the default. Okay, now if we look, ooh, hang on, I'm missing something here. Right, not sure why that is. Let me save out this file. Let's cancel this first. Right, it's probably because I've been exporting from this already. Let me save this file, which is bed 3. Let's put that in desktop. Okay, and let me open a new instance of Blender. Here we go. And I'll open my bed 3 blend, my latest one. Okay, I said we want to export and save as a Collada default. Now one thing I noticed here is I didn't have everything selected here, so I'm going to select it all, and that's everything on this layer, and I'm going to file, export, Collada default. It hasn't come up again. Something's gone wrong with my oh yes it has, there it is. How stupid am I? Right, so we got the Collada default. First we're looking at this left toolbar here, and we've got operator presets. Okay, now we've got SL and OpenSim rigged or SL and OpenSim static. For a static model, obviously we want to choose static, and what this will do is it'll automatically select some of these options, which are apply modifiers and selection only, and the rest of it. But these are basically all you have to worry about at this point is rigged or static, and we want static. So we can give the file a name. We'll call this LP bed, low poly bed. Save it to the directory we want, which in my case is desktop, and export Collada. Okay. Let's come into Second Life, and let's go through the upload process. So depending on your viewer, the names might be a bit different, but you know your own viewer. I happen to use Firestorm. One word about uploading mesh though is if you're going to upload mesh, especially if you want physics, do it on a 32-bit viewer. 64-bit viewers do not have Havoc, or OpenSim viewers. Any viewer that can connect to OpenSim does not have Havoc installed. So if you're unsure about all of this, if in doubt, the best bet is always the official Second Life viewer. But if you know what you're doing with the third-party viewers, that'll be fine. Let's get rid of that because I don't want things flashing at the bottom of my screen. Okay, if you don't know what you're doing, your best bet is the official Second Life viewer. Right, so I exported this earlier. So I'll go to build, upload, and a mesh model. Okay, and I will choose my LP test or LP bed, which is here, and the viewer comes up, and we can see we've got a view of the bed in the viewer. Now we can scroll in, we can use our left mouse to kind of pan around the bed, and if we use control and left mouse, we can go up and down and get a view of what's going on here. Now if we were to, let me pause this for a second. Okay, sorry about that. I really shouldn't record in Second Life and watching chat at the same time. Where was I? I was talking about, yeah, moving around this model. So control left click, we can move up and down, so we can get a good kind of all-round view in the previewer of the model. Right, okay. Now we could try uploading this, but we haven't done any optimization inside the uploader. But let's try it. So I haven't changed anything here, and I can just calculate weights and fees and wait for this to calculate. And it's saying that this optimized model has a land impact of 20. Okay, but we haven't fully optimized it. We haven't worked with our settings here. Okay, and I will say that this is slightly smaller than my in-world one. I had to resize my in-world one just up a bit to fit an avatar. So let's have a look at what kind of dimensions we got here. 2.55. So if I just increase this up a bit, 2.53, 2.7. So somewhere around there is nearer the size I have in SL. Okay, so if I was to calculate this again, so about a third bigger, we're now at a land impact of 23. Okay, we haven't optimized this model. So how can we optimize? First of all, let's come back to our level of detail tab. Now level of detail, the lowest level of detail is what will be seen from quite a distance away. Now there are formulas for calculating how far a model is visible before it collapses to the next level of detail, and we'll go into that a bit in the classroom, I think. But for now, lowest level of detail means that you want this bed to be seen from like 2 sims away, where chances are it's going to be inside a building, and you don't need to see it from more than 15-20 meters away maximum. Okay, so we'll reduce this lowest level of detail to 0. Okay, low level of detail means you should be able to see it from the other side of the sim. Once again, we don't need that kind of level of detail, so we can reduce this probably by about there. Okay, now if you want to see how this will translate into Second Life, we can change our view here. So we go to lowest, we're going to see just a triangle, but from 2 sims away you're not even going to see that with the size of it. If we go to low, we've got a basic bed shape. Okay, you know, but again, we're talking from the other side of a sim, we're not going to see much more than that anyway. If we go to medium, which would be probably, I don't know, 50 meters away or something like that, you're seeing the whole bed shape. You know, it's looking pretty much as the high is, just a slight bit more detail in the high. Now ideally we would make level of detail models, and we will do that in a later project, but for this I'm not going to be concerned too much. So with these, just these 2 figures adjusted 0 and down quite a bit, let's calculate our weights and fees again and see what we get. We're now getting a land impact of 8 compared to the 22 we had. That is much more reasonable. Okay, now physics is another thing. We will go into convex hull and how it works and how physics hulls work in a lot of detail in a later lesson, but for now let's just say that we need a basic physics on this. If, let me get rid of these, I can't stand that chat scrolling across the bottom of the screen. If we want some kind of physics on this bed, it may not matter because the bed is probably going to be scripted, so physics doesn't become an issue. The script will place your avatar where it needs to be. But if we wanted a basic physics on this bed, we would really need just 3 areas. We would need something to define the headboard, something to define the footboard, and something to define the mattress. Okay. If we were to analyze this physics now on high, if we were to choose one, going to choose high, we can see we got a lot of geometries here. We got 8,500 triangles. That's just going to crash the uploader. And when we see these black lines with dots, we know we got a lot of problems. So could we choose another model? We choose a medium. Analyze that with what medium? Okay. We've still got some of these black dots and lines, so we know we still got a problem, and we still got 2,000 triangles. When I was talking about we just need a basic physics, just something to define a headboard and the footboard and a mattress, we could basically have a plane, a quad there. A quad consists of 2 triangles, so that's 2, 4, 6 triangles, and we're on 2149. Way too much. Okay. Low. Okay. We're starting to lose some of what we wanted. We wanted the football defined. We've still got a single black dot here, which means there's still a problem. So that's not going to work. If we analyze that, it's not going to work. Okay, so if we went from lowest, here we've got 4 triangles. I can see one there. Let's analyze this so it changes colour. See one there. Looks like they got triangle up here, which isn't any good. So really we would want to define our own physics. Okay, but well, actually let's do this. Let me jump back into Blender. I did define a physics for this model, and I'll put it on this layer here. Okay, actually might be easier to show it with, oh, because I moved everything. Alright, let me just okay, let me grab this and move this across so you can kind of see how I did it. I made 3 planes. Okay, one level with the top of the mattress, one that defines the footboard, the extents of the footboard with the post, and one that defines the extents of the headboard with the post. And it's literally just 3 planes. If I just, they're looking black because I've no material on them. Let me just add a material. Well, they're all there. That's easier to see. I don't need to add a material. You shouldn't have a material on physics anyway. So you can see I've just did these 3 planes. One thing that will be important though is if you're doing your physics like this, is you'll need to make sure that these don't join, because the uploader will kind of mess up and it won't resolve them right. But as I said, we'll go into the physics in a lot more detail in a later lesson. But for now, I've got the 3 planes that they represent the mattress, the footboard, and the headboard. And I saved that out to a separate file called physics. So let's jump back into Second Life, and for the level of detail, I've already got that file saved. I can come back to from file, and I can browse to my bed physics file, which is there. Okay, now as you scroll around, you can see how it's placing these physics where I wanted them. So one on the headboard, one on the footboard, and not sure if we'll see there's the one on the mattress. Okay, and to see how those are interacting with the model, we can use a preview spread. Okay, and actually it's not spreading. Let me analyze first. Sorry. Okay, now when we spread, we can see how it's mapping to the model. So let's just bring this back to 0. So I've defined my physics, I've analyzed it, and now if I do my calculate weights and fees, bear in mind I've got this at full size, I've got my level of detail set, and I've got my physics set. Calculate weights and fees. and it probably still come out at 22 because physics was a lower weight, at 8, sorry. So we got this at a land impact of 8.3, so it'll come out at 9. Let me just rename this. When you put your name here, this is the name that'll appear in your inventory. So I'll put this as low poly bed test. Okay, this model represents, this is not essential. All this really is a survey for London Labs to see what kind of objects are coming in into Second Life. So if you really wanted to, small and non-moving, there you go. We've got a land impact of 8.31, and so if we upload this, upload costs $11 Linden dollars. Let me go to recent items here, objects, low poly bed test, or let me res this out, and there we go. I've got this bed, same size as the others that I wanted, and here you can see we've maintained some of these folds and stuff in the sheets, which is what we were trying to do. If we edit this, it's showing a lamp impact of 8. This one, it's actually coming lower than this one. That happens sometimes. Whereas this one was 80. So 10% of the land impact of this one. Okay, so textures, we can add our textures. Let's turn the whole model white. Okay, now I've already got the textures uploaded, so I'm just going to select face, and I'm going to copy them off this bed. So if I select the mattress, texture, use my eyedropper, there we go, do the same with pillows. I need to move this out of the way so I can see the pillows. Use my eyedropper, there we go, and with the frame, there we go. Okay, that's kind of mapped a little bit wrong. The reason for this has come out a bit funky, is because I have an alpha channel. Now I've said before, don't use alpha channels in your textures unless you really need them. I know for a fact I did on this one, my mistake. So all I'll simply do is change the alpha blending to alpha masking. So it's stopping that see-through effect. Okay, so there is the bed uploaded. 8 land impact compared to 80 with our original model, with just a very few optimizations.